Welcome back to the Morning Mist 99 Above and Beyond Schizophrenia. So now I'm going to add some things that I forgot. I was going to say I left out, but I forgot on that previous video about how to overcome thought broadcasting. Now, that's what happens when you don't have like a checklist that you do consistently, because I've done it a couple times. Most of the times I just one shot and I'm done. But I did forget some other ways that thought broadcasting can manifest itself, and maybe it's good that I forgot it, because that video would have been longer than 30 minutes, which is just short of 30 minutes. So, and my videos tend to be a little bit longer because I could just make videos where I just tell you what thought broadcasting is, and that's it, and how maybe some of my experiences. But having gone through it, I feel I can add more. And if you want it, you take it. If you don't want it, you keep walking. But I think, like, if I didn't do that, if I didn't add that part to it, I wouldn't be making videos at all. I wouldn't be doing this, right? I'm not doing this for fun or whatever the heck it is. I went along for many years just living my life, got through schizophrenia, living my life, and didn't care to talk about it because I just felt people wouldn't be interested in it. I just see the kind of mindset people have around mental illness and schizophrenia and stuff. So, and I went a total different way. And I know I kind of, and people that you could see certain things. So, but because it was given to me, and I felt I shouldn't just keep it to myself, and so I just want to bring it forth. And I guess I was at my mom's house yesterday, and she has a garden at the front, nice big garden at the front, and then at the back as well. And we're at the back, a bunch of us just kind of hanging out, and kids running around, whatever, right? So it was good. And after a little bit, I decided to, look at the flowers, and I walked around the back, and then I went to the front, and I just stood there for a bit and just kind of see if I could hear anything, not schizophrenia related, but sometimes if you look at nature, and if you kind of just you can allow it to speak to you, right? If you just consider some of the things for a bit. And there's a lot of things you can learn about yourself, and just about the world, and how things work, and how that relates back to you, right? So I was doing that, and I thought, what was the point of flowers? What's the point of flowers? Like, why do they do what they do? Right? It was a mystery to me. I'm like, I don't understand it. They grow, and they put forth a flower, and they die. I'm just like, what's the point? What's the point? You're struggling through all this just to put forth a flower. I just never understood it. I never really thought about it before, but as I was thinking about it then, I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm just considering it, and I'm watching the ants and the bees and everything just swarm them, and all up and down them, and it's just, everything's there, but I'm like, why does this thing do this? And I looked at the rose. My mom has some roses, right? So I caught this rose, and I realized it's got these thorns adorning it all the way up, but the bud and the flower, when it opens up, it doesn't have any thorns. So I was like, why in the world wouldn't that have a thorn? Because you'd think that's the thing you want to protect, because that's what the thorns were doing. It seems like it was protecting the life from people pricking it, picking it, or stepping on it. You want to be wary of it, right? So the thorns are there to protect it, because the life really wants to express itself, right? And so much so that it grows thorns to keep people or things at bay. And I thought, man, that's amazing, but what's going on here? But then after, thinking about it and watching everything, I'm like, oh, it does all this just so it can give. It's saying thank you. It's expressing itself with gratefulness, and it's offering the world this beauty and this fragrance, and all the insects and stuff, and the bugs and the flies, or everything comes and they take from these flowers, and it just selflessly gives. I thought that was really amazing. Right? So I want to be a flower. I want to be a rose. I want to be a flower. So that's why I'm doing it, man. Just my way of saying thank you, for me making it out of this darkness and seeing so many people still struggling, lost in this thing and don't know what to do, and thinking that there's no way out and you have to just, make do and coexist, or what they call it, what they say when you have to not cope but manage it, right? You're just gonna manage. So that's really why I'm doing this. So anyways, back to this thought broadcasting thing. So one of the things I forgot to mention was that it can manifest in ways in other ways, like thought blocking, right? So there's a whole schizophrenia itself is a spectrum, and within these symptoms there's a spectrum of symptoms as well. There's nothing just stays one way. They manifest in different ways, and the longer you stay within a symptom, the longer it goes unchallenged, the more or the deeper it gets, right? So it's almost like it's a tree, and it puts forth its root in the heart, in the ground, and then it grows, and then it puts forth branches after branches, and the branches put forth branches. So the longer you stay in it, is the more it's gonna entrench. It's gonna get, the deeper the roots are gonna grow, and then the more branches are gonna come forth, right? So when you stay within this situation, don't challenge it. It just keeps growing in different forms, right? So that's how we get our spectrum. And within this, you have another way of thought blocking, where you feel like people are blocking your thoughts, right? Or suppressing it, or you can't, or inserting thoughts within your head, right? Inserting thoughts in your mind. And also, I never had experience with those two particularly, but I did have an experience where you could feel like you want to, because you feel like people are reading your mind, now you want to send telepathic messages to them, right? So you say, hey, so it's like you want to let them know, to give you a nod or in a certain way, give me a sign, give me a nod, whatever it is, to let me know that you can hear me. And then they ignore you, or at least they don't give you that sign, and then you kind of get upset with them. Or you feel like, well, it's because they don't want you to know. That it's like a conspiracy, they're keeping with different people, or they just don't want you to know. They want to take advantage of you, right? So that kind of just breeds all kinds of negative emotions and thoughts and so forth, right? So that one I had experience with, and I remember one time, because people would just, I had this experience, right? I don't know if this is real. I don't know if this really happened. And for years, I thought this happened. But then I've been thinking back, and I'm like, was that real? I don't know. I'm not so sure anymore. I was coming from work one morning, right? And before I got really bad, but I was always seeing these witches and demons and stuff. And I was like still thinking my mom and of her witches. But I was still, I wasn't like fasting 30, 40 days and so forth. So I came off the bus one morning. It was winter, and there's ice all over the snow and ice on the sidewalk. So I'm coming off the bus and walking. I saw this lady, this tall, blonde, white lady, right? And she was walking just with this, like a long coat. And I was just caught up. I was struck. Just like I felt like she had this energy around her, and she was just walking within this energy. And I was like, man, that's a witch. How else is she doing that? you know, like she was manipulating this energy. And I'm watching this woman, and I'm walking as well, right? But I didn't stop staring at her, but I was walking, but I kind of, I noticed this. And as soon as she approached me, she was just bouncing, just confident strides. And it was snow and ice all over the place. And then she looks at me, she smiles, and she says, "Don't fall," and kept walking. And I was like, just, I was speechless. Then I kept walking now, and before I reached my house, I went, zoop, boom. And I'm like, what the heck? Did she knew that. I know she was a witch. She just looked like her. She said that, just, like she could see what's gonna happen. So that's what I thought people were able to see my future, right? Like my mom and this wasn't just the only incident, but that was just really like one of the first times that just it was caught me. But other times it would be smaller stuff. And I thought people were able to see my future. So what I would do is I'd say, yo, man, like, especially with my mom, like, hey, just get the lottery numbers, Like, what are you doing playing these stupid games? You're sitting here reading my mind, telling me this, telling me that, trying to make me all anxious and nervous. Get those lottery numbers, look in my eyes, see me check the lottery, and get those numbers. Like, what are you playing these stupid games for? Right? So you kind of trying to communicate that to those people, and then they don't do nothing, and you're like, man, you just kind of, just frustrates you, right? Makes you just want to be combative and so forth. So that was one, and is of that, and I that's one of the things I've directly have experience with. But the thing about those things is there's no difference in how we meet those challenges, right? There's as a, like what I talked about in the other video, like it doesn't matter the ways that they come, right? A lot of times people get so defensive or protective of how they experience things, and you just get caught up in those little details. But it's like they're not there. They're there for two things. One of them is to crush you. The other one is for you to overcome them. Right? And that's just means you gotta, because listen, you cannot grow without having some stress, right? You need stress in order to actually develop the things that you really need, right? So if you need patience, you can't get patience in it without being in a situation where patience is required. Right? If you want confidence, you can't gain that by being in a situation where you're not going to be feeling, a lack of confidence, right? And you have to try to fight for that confidence, right? So this is what these symptoms are, at least how I view them, right? Because we want to get through them, so we have to change our whole perception, our own mindset of how we look at these, right? And so we got to look beyond them. We got to look through them and beyond them in with the thought that we're going to overcome them, right? So a lot of people will, and one of the ways that you can attack this is through reasoning, right? Like if I was saying, well, like that's one way I could reason why this is just doesn't make sense, because if you could see my future, wouldn't you do that, right? And if people are reading your thoughts and maybe you're saying negative stuff, critical stuff of them, then why wouldn't they respond to you in anger or certain kind of ways that you would expect if you said that verbally? So when you start to reason this through, you start, okay, it doesn't make sense, but then you're going to say and you got to realize that not every thought that comes into your head is yours. So when it says, yeah, but if that person doesn't want you to know, so now you're no longer sure, because the reaction you'd expect, it's now being contained. That person, they're not going to respond that way because they want to keep you in the dark. But now what you got to do is you got to bring in the fact that you know you are facing this illness, this schizophrenia. And so one of the symptoms of schizophrenia is thought broadcasting. So that's why I said you don't want to lose awareness. You got to always bring awareness and that knowledge into each situation that wants to pull you away. And so you have to bring that and bring the reasoning together to strengthen your hold in that stake that you put in the ground, right? So this now can make you say, okay, well, now it does, it could be this or that, but I know I have the schizophrenia. So you know what? I'm just going to leave it as it's a symptom of schizophrenia. And now I'm going to move forward in a way that will respectful and in a way that I want to be, right? So you have to act in the way that you want to be, not in the way that you feel other people are their reactions or actions are making you try to make you act, right? So you got to realize what kind of person you want to be, and you have to strive to be that person, right? So it's no longer about how someone is treating me. It's about how I want to treat people. If I want to be a good person, then I'm going to be a good person regardless of how I'm treated. So with those things in mind, I can let those things fall to the wayside, because I'm not here to get into altercations or, any kind of things like that because of what you're doing or you're not doing or whatnot. I'm going to respond according to the character that I want to develop, right? So, and this is where some people feel like because they're uncertain of whether the person is faking, not being able to hear them and to give them that nod, so they don't know, and so they get caught up in the confusion, and that kind of pulls them away because they're looking for a good reaction from somebody in order for them to respond a certain way. But that's not how you live. You want to be the person you want to be, right? And so people say, well, I don't know how, because it doesn't help me because I don't know what the person is thinking or if that real or not or whatever. It doesn't matter whether or not they don't want you to know, or there is a conspiracy. None of that has anything to do with you. The problem is we want to treat people how they treat us. If you treat me bad, I want to treat you bad. If you disrespect me, I'm gonna be angry at you. I'm gonna disrespect you back. That's not how we live, right? We gotta give we gotta give people and treat people how we want to be treated, right? So if they cast something at me and I don't like it, I'm not gonna cast the same at them. I'm gonna give them better, right? What I would like, So we move forward in that direction, and we can let go of those other things. And now you're no longer able to be manipulated by the symptoms. Right? Your focus is on the person you want to be, and you have to be that person in the moment. You cannot wait until the thought broadcasting symptom leaves before you start to respect people and to treat people good and to have those kind of relationships and to have that peace of mind. So you have to embody that now. This is why I say you be grateful for it as if you've already had it, and you start to live it. And in order to live it, it means you must let go of the things that are trying to pull you in different ways. So it might be stressful at first, but remember, you cannot develop patience without being in a situation where you have to wait. You must wait in confidence. You cannot develop courage unless you're in a situation where when you feel like being fearful, yet you have to stand, right? You cannot develop persistence unless you're in a situation where you feel like quitting and you feel like giving up, yet you must push forward anyway, right? Perseverance, all these things are what this illness is there to bring out of you. But a lot of times it either does that or it buries it. But most times we allow those to bury us or bury those good qualities instead of allowing them to draw them out, or we can use it. That's the only good thing here. So that's what I wanted to add for this video. This video is already longer than I wanted again, but I just want to touch on those and to really reinforce some of the things I said in that other video, because this it really needs to get, driven home, right? And we need to really decide who we want to be and really strive to be that, rather than waiting for things to somehow work out before we start living our lives the way we want to. That's not the right way to go about that is a recipe for disaster. That's a failure's mentality. And we've got to calm the storm, speak to the storm, right? And we have to live our lives in a way that reflects the person we want to be. And this is going to calm the storm around us or within us, right? Because, like I said, once you do that, you start to gain more presence in your life. You start to, the you that you want to be starts to grow. It starts to come to the surface, start to push all of that other stuff out. And you start to come to this, and there, that cannot, two forces like that cannot occupy the same space. Two opposite forces, you can't. Love and hate cannot occupy the same space at the same time. Fear and courage cannot occupy the same space at the same time, right? So the more you lean towards that energy, that person you want to be, the more it comes forth in strength, and that stuff ends up fading away because it loses whatever ground it has taken up within your heart and mind. So this is the way in order to tackle this thought broadcasting. Like I said, I'm not just here to quote you some definitions and whatnot. This is a solid way to move forward, right? It's not something that comes easy. And I've said this before, anything that's of value will not come without a cost. The cost for this is your presence in your life, right? You have to be present. You have to go out there and you have to take that person you want. You have to fight for it. It's given to you, but it's going to cost you something, right? You're going to have to fight for it. That's just how it works. But when you get through it, you'll gain so much more. You'll gain so much stuff that you didn't really know you had in you. You'll gain patience. You'll gain courage. You'll gain trust. You'll gain faith. You'll gain hope. You'll gain perseverance. You'll gain so much. And when you face other challenges in your life, you can always draw on these experiences that you had and how you overcame them. And they'll always be with you to overcome other difficult situations, just like they've helped me overcome many other adversity in my life, right? Even when I lost 100 pounds twice, right? I knew I could, because if I can get through schizophrenia, same thing, right? So it's that mindset. So until next time, keep moving forward. Keep confident. Keep believing, man. I know it gets difficult. I know the struggle gets difficult. I know the pressure is enormous. I know it feels like you can't take it anymore. But just change the way you look at it. Don't see it so much as a something that's such a big problem. I know that's weird to say, because it is, but I mean, like, see it as a challenge. See it like you're at the gym and you got to lift some heavy weights. You're there, you're ready, and focus on the person you want to be. That's how you lift these weights. So keep hope alive. Keep your foundation of belief strong. Hold that line. Believe in yourself. Move forward. Keep your eyes forward. Behind you is failure. Behind you is misery. Behind you is torment. Behind you is death. That's what's waiting back there for you. So why would you want to go back there? Failure is not an option. You've got to move forward. So keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your eyes on the road and walk toward that person you want to be by being that person now, embracing that person, Have faith. We'll talk next time.